Well, good evening, Facebook, and welcome to the first broadcast of Talk Leadership with Cedrick, TLC. Everybody needs a little TLC. Talk Leadership with Cedric is a weekly leadership discussion with thought leaders from around the United States. Our goal is to lead leadership discussions from a lot of different points of view. So that means what we're going to do is we're going to bring you people from different generations, both young and old. See, I value experience, but I value our youth even more. So we're going to bring them on. So you will see that the youth is our future. So what we have to do is learn to embrace their ideas, their thinking, and their skill set. So with that being said, you will hear from experienced leaders as well as high school leaders in the coming weeks. At Talk Leadership Live, our signature principle is the law of the trade-offs. And here's what the law of trade-off says. It says you have to give up to grow up. Eric Hofer says people will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life rather than change in order to get something better for fear of getting something worse. The difference between the two is where we are versus where we want to be. And that's created by the changes that we're willing to make in our lives. My goal, my hope, my wish is that I'll bring you people and discussions that encourage you to change. In the chat tonight, I would love for you to put in your comments or ask questions. I'll try to get to some of those as we go along in the program. But let me introduce our esteemed first guest for Talk Leadership with Cedric. But before I do that, I want you to know I'll be selecting two people tonight from our chat for prizes, but you have to be in the room to win. See, every week the prize is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to bring on our first guest, and let me say this. Our first guest is a young brother doing some wonderful, some outstanding things out there. Now, I've had the pleasure of being his friend for a few years now, and let me tell you what, this guy is dynamic. But I wanted to make sure I do a proper introduction. Now, you notice tonight I have on a bow tie, and it's been a long time since I've had on a bow tie, but I knew this brother would be bringing it. So I couldn't come half stepping, and I like wearing my bow ties as well. But I want you to sit back and I want you to listen and let me introduce Dr. Salters to you. So first of all, hello, Dr. Salters.
Good evening. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Now let me properly introduce you to our Facebook group here tonight. Okay. Dr. Gregory Salters is a proud native of Alexandria, Louisiana. Dr. Salters graduated from Alexandria High School in 1987. Now, Washington Marion folks in Lake Charles, don't hold that against him. All right. He got his bachelor's degree from FAMU, Florida A&M University. Then he didn't stop there. He went on and got a master's in public administration from Florida Atlantic University. He didn't even stop there. He said, oh, I'm going up to a higher level. He went and got his doctorate degree from Florida International University in adult education and human resources development. I told you this brother was sharp. But I'm not even finished yet. Look, watch this. Dr. Gregory Salters serves as a major with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, where he's been there for over 25 years. Here's some of the positions he's held. He's been an executive officer. He's been the Investigations Bureau commander. And today he serves as a Support Services Bureau major. Now, Dr. Salters also serves as an adjunct professor for Miami-Dade College School of Justice for Florida International University. And he has served as adjunct at Broward County Institute for Public Safety. Now, I'm not even done, guys. Just hold on. I have to do a proper introduction. Now, this brother is the founder and managing partner of the Salt Mine Success and Leadership Training Institute, LLC. Now, he is also a trainer, a certified speaker, trainer, and coach with the John Maxwell team. The brother has a lean Six Sigma green belt from the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineering. The brother brings it. He's also, for you alphas out there, he is an Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity member. Well, let me say it right. He's the chairman of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated Zeta Alpha Lambda Chapters Men of Tomorrow Mentoring Program. Now, they couldn't have a better person than that. Now, Dr. Salter's life motto is this: if I can help somebody as I pass along the way, my living will not be in vain. Now, that's an awesome life model to have. He says he utilizes his life experiences and scholarly background to help others be successful. This allows others to positively impact organizations and society. Welcome to the show tonight, Dr. Gregory Salters.
Wow, Cedrick, I appreciate that intro, man. We're gonna have to take this some more on the road some more, man. I appreciate that. The check is in the mail.
Oh, brother. Well, I want to, thank you very much for coming on the show, being the first guest of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. And there would be no one else I'd rather have on the show tonight besides yourself. I had the pleasure of meeting you at the International Maxwell Conference a few years ago, and it was interesting how we met. So I'm gonna kind of start there, and then I'm going to go through some questions, and I just want to have some conversation and dialogue. And what we're going to do tonight, Doc, is we're going to help our audience better understand leadership, what a leader looks like. You exemplify a leader, but we want to talk with them about it, and we'll have some real dialogue tonight. So, why don't you kind of share with the audience how we met?
Okay, one, I want y'all to understand that those of y'all, he gave you an introduction of me, but if you want to really find out a dynamic brother, look what Cedrick is really doing. When you look at his career, look at where he and his family have come from. When they started out, I call them the Jeffersons, the modern day Jeffersons. They were back there before they didn't have what all they needed. They saw some things that they needed to do, and they started putting a plan in place to get to where they are. When you start looking at the brother professionally, you talking about somebody that's over there with Abbott Labs doing sales at a very high level and sitting on various boards of directors. And they don't allow you to stay on boards of directors unless you are producing. So you're talking about a leader. He's been a leader there. He's been a leader in the community. And I'm sure he's going to tell us about a lot of stuff that he's been dealing with. Dave Ramsey, helping people be financially secure, the different things that he's doing, and how he has his Millionaire Boys Club that's out there where he's mentoring young men, because so many times people get things, but they don't want to help others with it, and they hoard that information. So Cedrick, I want to tell you, thank you for doing what you're doing, because that really adds some credence to things that are out there. Thank you for going out there and setting this up where you're allowing people to get to know you, to talk to you, and have some open conversations, because that is what we need. So thank you for everything that you have been doing and examples that you have set. And to talk about how you and I met, it talks about leadership, because whenever we're talking about personal development or we're talking about leadership and in organizations, it all starts with you as the individual. And many times I work with individuals and they'll go to classes, or they'll say this class isn't that interesting, or this class is expensive. I can tell you, when I was looking at my personal development, I can say started back in 1985. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was out there reading some books. Zig Ziglar was coming out there to Dallas, and his tickets were $150 a piece. I was a college student interning. $150, I didn't have it. I saw the book for $20. I bought the book, See You at the Top, and that began that quest. And fast forward, being in leadership, being out here as a manager, always understand I have to have things. If I want to give something to somebody, I can't give what I don't have. So I started getting some information, and I saw the John Maxwell team, and their philosophy and what they were doing was exactly what I was looking for. And I went to our international conference, and you know how you're walking around, and many times we say everybody communicates, but few connect. And at the conference, Cedrick, I think you will admit there are thousands of people there that you can elect to meet to. But how many times as we have individuals gone to a training and we didn't really reach out to say hello to somebody? We didn't go outside of our comfort zone. Those are missed opportunities.
Right.
And as it happened, Cedrick, you and I were walking, you were walking to the conference, I was walking by, and we saw each other, just said, hi. And from that standpoint, you didn't have on your bow tie at that time. We just spoke, and then we talked about it. And it's interesting because from that conversation, just us one wanting to pour into ourselves to give to others, that's what got us to the conference. Then once we're at the conference, we saw each other. We didn't just pass by and do the courtesy wave. We did engage with each other. And based on that engagement, we began to find out how many connections we have. And for our audience, you hear sometimes people saw 6 degrees of separation. We have no degrees of separation between Cedrick and I. When we met, the conference was in Orlando, Florida. So we met and we started talking. Then we said, oh, we're both from, he told me he wore bow ties. I had on a bow tie. Then he told me he was from Louisiana. Well, I'm from Louisiana. Then I told him my nephew was going to be going to Texas Christian University. And he told me, well, my daughter just graduated from Texas Christian University. He told me he played in the band. I played in the band. Things just started having all of these similarities of us being together and how we are connected. So for those of us that believe God has a way for us, and those that don't believe, you know, there is a higher power and we didn't just orchestrate this happening. Absolutely. And so we've been going and meeting, and it's just been great the way that our things go. And as we signed on here this morning, I said, wow, look like we could be in the same house. We got similar color backgrounds. We got about pictures hanging at about the same level. We both got on the bow ties. We both got on the glasses. It has just been one of those things. But the other thing that you look at from a leadership standpoint, if we had not wanted to pour into ourselves, Cedrick, and if we had not connected with each other at the IMC, we would not be on this call today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, thank you very much for that. And this call tonight is really about you, Doc. And I want to ask you some questions and just have some dialogue around these questions. So, give us, I kind of walked through your career path, but can you kind of bring your career path to life for us? So give us a sense of how you got to where you are today. Because we know that, one, you didn't just wake up one day and you had a doctor's degree hanging on your wall. And then all of a sudden you woke up the next day and you were a major in a major police organization in the United States. So walk us through how you got to where you are today.
Okay. I'd like to start us back in high school, because a lot of times we really don't understand what type of platform that really sets for us and how it goes. And it also, for us as adults, what we do as adults really has an impact on our youth and those that are watching us. Sometimes they aren't even youth. It could be those that are the same age of us or older. But when I was in high school, I was getting ready to graduate, and I had a conversation with my dad. My dad's an auditor. He was head of auditing out there in Louisiana, Mississippi, and all that. So we had moved from place to place. But when I was in high school, I was 17 years old. And I told my dad at that particular time, I said, I want to retire at age 47. And of course, at that time, he said, 47, that seems kind of young. Most people are doing that at about 60, 65. And do you know what you want to do? I said, I want to have my own business. And I said, okay. And of course, at that time, nobody really took that seriously. So I went to Florida A&M University, started out majoring in accounting, because most of us do what we do. It's based on really a social learning theory. Based on what we've been exposed to, that's what we go to. And so my dad was in accounting, so I figured I'd major in accounting. But somewhere along that path, there's Dr. Sandra Drummond at Florida A&M University in accounting, that when I was going through, I was not doing what I needed to do. And I figured out I would not be as successful in accounting as I needed to be. So I'd probably still be there trying to graduate. So during that crisis, I changed my major to business administration and was able to go ahead and graduate. And coming out of college, I was in banking and finance. And I don't know how many of you all have majored in things, but you aren't working in that field now. And many of us, when we were in college and going to these different classes, had no idea where we would end up now. Just like many of our millennials and people now, they're doing jobs that didn't even exist when we were in college. So you have to look at it. Which skills are you developing that are going to be transferable? And are you working with others to develop those skills? So when I was in banking, I was going through the training program. I wanted to manage my own bank. And so when you started getting promotions and you aren't getting promotions, and you see other people that appear to be less talented than you and are getting promoted for reasons outside of job performance, it began to take a toll on me. And I began having health issues. At the age of 23, they diagnosed me with a spasmodic stomach. And Cedrick, I might not be the smartest individual in the room, but that was telling me that I needed to get out of that pressure cooker. So I got out of that and started selling insurance because I was in the bank, and I saw how loans were made. I saw how the interest rates were given. And if you ever notice, the individuals, many times the way our system is set up, many times those with the great credit get the lowest interest rates. Those with the worst credit gets the higher interest rate. And I understand the risk that the financial institutions are taking, but those things play a role in life. And so when I'm working with individuals, I said, I want to help them understand this from a financial standpoint. So I got into insurance. I was talking with individuals about the intergenerational transfer of wealth, how to use insurance to transfer that wealth down your generations, as opposed to just buying death insurance and using the tax benefits within the insurance to help other individuals and help churches.
Right.
But that was one of those kind of businesses where it was commissioned. If you don't sell anything, you don't eat anything.
Yeah.
And over there, when I was really rough and trying to get things going, I had an insurance sale for $10,000. And remember, we often say connections or everything, how we talk about how you and I are connected.
Yes.
I'd made a sale and I'd made $10,000 commission on it. So that allowed me to catch my bills up. But the individual that I made the sale to said his neighbor got into insurance, and what his neighbor was presenting to him was a little bit more expensive, but he wanted to support his neighbor. So he canceled my policy within that 3 days right of rescission to go with the other guy that he had a stronger connection with. So that meant I owed the insurance company back $10,000. That was not comfortable. And so therefore, I started looking at things. And again, connections. A fraternity brother of mine, Zimbalist Chalk, he talked to me for numerous years about being a police officer. It took him 5 years to get me to put in an application. And so therefore, I put that application in after the 5 years because I really, in my neighborhood, it wasn't cool to be the police. We didn't know many police officers, and that wasn't something I really was interested in. And again, you must find out things, connect with individuals that can give you enough information to make a sound decision. So then putting in for the police job, it's interesting here in Broward County, Florida, you have to pass a swim test to be a police officer in Broward County because of the amount of water that we have down here. And that's a whole nother discussion dealing with systemic issues about hiring processes. And I did a lot of that research in my doctorate on what we actually deal with from a systemic standpoint. But I failed numerous swim tests. The swim test originally that I took, it was 100 yards and tread water for 5 minutes thereafter. So that was you get the idea how you had to swim, and I get it for safety. But long story short, I got into law enforcement. I've been here. I've taught. I was on patrol. I've done bike patrol, like I say, before it was sexy. I taught DARE for 4 years at 7 different schools. I've worked in internal affairs and other jobs. And when you talk about the degrees, when you're trying to go places on your jobs, I don't know how many people have had a job or something to where you seemingly were not able to get some of the opportunities that you thought you should have gotten. At that particular time, you have some options. Y'all have heard me say one of my hashtags is success is options. And I believe that the more options you have, the greater your chances are for success. So every time we ran up against options, if I couldn't go left, I couldn't go right. I said I needed to get something that no one can take from me, and that is my education. So I like to tell people every time I got mad on the job, I went back and got education. So if you can't tell, Dr. Gregory A. Salters has been mad a lot. So, but when you get that education, it also helps your organization go forward because you're able to bring things back to your organization. You're able to bring things back to your team, and people begin to look at you and see, how did you handle diversity, adversity, and diversity? And right now in my current position, I am working there at the police department. And right now I am over our operation support area. So in the uniform patrol area is that other thing other than patrol. So our mounted unit, our homeless outreach, Marine unit, motors, DUI, our special special events, our emergency management. I'm doing that. And along with, as you stated, the salt mine. And if you look at it, those of us that believe in God, when you look at things, I said I always wanted to have my own success and leadership training institute. And when you look at it, I was saying, oh, I like the salt mine. I play on my last name. But if you look at it, salt, success, and leadership training. So God gave me that in my first 4 letters of my surname as it was. So those are the things that I've been doing. I've been working with a lot of agencies. I've been working with a lot of individuals, police departments, school boards, getting in there, dealing with kids, getting in there, dealing with adults, talking with them about leadership. Because what you find, just as you're doing with education and out there, you find out, and most times jobs do a lot of training on job specific items,
Right.
How to do the job and those type things. And there isn't much leadership training being done. So if you look at the percentage of job tasks, and the higher you go on the organizational chart, the more you get into management, the more you're into leadership. But if you're waiting until you are in middle or higher level management to get the leadership training, you're behind the 8 ball. That's kind of like waiting until you get in the NFL to start lifting weights. You are really behind the 8 ball then. So I like getting in there, dealing with leadership training, particularly in law enforcement, particularly with our educators, because my thing is, if you get law enforcement, educators, and the community working together, there is nothing that we can't accomplish. So that's it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So here's what I want our audience to pick up on what you said, because they might have missed it. And you said a lot there, but here's what I want you to pick up on. Success is options. Success equals options. He says education can't be taken away from you. So what does that mean? Go get more of it, right? Once you have it, it's yours. He said, and he also mentioned that he had a mentor that kept encouraging him. And I'm going to highlight, underline, bold, put in quotation mark, encourage. He had a mentor that encouraged him to apply for the police department. You see, you have to make sure, 1, that you have a mentor. 2, that mentor is encouraging you to go higher, expand, get outside your comfort zone, do a little bit more, stretch you. I wanted to make sure you pick up on that. Now, he also said he has worked in organizations that provided leadership development training. So the question I have for you, and put it in the comments, is your employer doing leadership development training? I'm not talking about professional development training. That's on how to do your job. I'm talking about leadership development, how you think, your thought process, how you communicate with people, how you help lead others. So just put it in the comment section, yes or no, if you're getting leadership development training. Thanks, Greg or Dr. Salters, for that feedback. So let me ask you this.
Can I say one quick thing, Cedrick, that I forgot to put a cap on?
Yes.
One of the things I forgot to put a cap on, I told you all that when I was 17, I told my dad I wanted to retire at 47. Well, at 47 and 3 months, I entered our deferred retirement option program. So effectively retiring from the police department. So that was in 2013. So on that day, I called my dad. So Cedrick, to your point, sometimes when we have these goals, we need to share them and we need to put them out there, because we don't know how we will get to them. Because remember, I didn't know anything about law enforcement. So I had no idea how I was going to do it. And I know personally, sometimes we stop doing things because we don't know how we're going to do it. But sometimes when you just put it out there, because you go back there to your childhood, I hadn't learned not to say 47. I don't know how it came up. But when you put those things out there, something will happen. Some say universe, some say God, that will make these things happen and align so that you can achieve those goals. So that goal was achieved at 47 and 3 months.
Well, that is awesome. Congratulations on that. I know that that should be a lot of people's goal. So thanks for putting that out there for the audience. So, hey, with this COVID-19 crisis, tell me what's been the biggest challenge with leading through this crisis?
One, leading through this crisis, and you know how you have these various theories out there, the Johari window and all these types of things that are wondering, some leaders are focusing more on people, some leaders are focusing more on task. And I've taken the DISC exam, and you know how you've done with the DISC as well. And I'm one of these kind of individuals that I love process, but I also care about my people. And anytime you're dealing with something that is a pandemic, one, every leader must understand it is not about them. It's always about the other person, or it's always about the others. So when you think about the others, most of the others that I have dealt with, they have been concerned about their health. They've been concerned about their family. Those that have been losing jobs or those type of things, they've been concerned about their financial well-being, how their family is going to be. So as a leader, you have to find out what are the pain points with your team. What are the pain points with your organization? And once you deal with that, then it can go forward. The biggest problem I've seen with the COVID-19 is that we just have so much information coming at us from so many different ways, and sometimes it is conflicting, and individuals are trying to see what information do they follow. So they're looking for true leadership and examples of leadership, not just by mouth, because people watch what we do, not what we say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. So, in this time of crisis and difficulty and having to stay home, people are discouraged. And you'll see it a lot of times on the news. People are in a state of panic. But give us something, one or two things to help encourage people to look forward to a brighter future.
Okay. When we're looking at this pandemic and how things are going, I would challenge anybody that sees this video or anybody that has talked about this to come up with one tragedy that they have not made it through. When you can come up with one tragedy that you have not made it through, then let's have a conversation. Because no matter what it is, we will make it through it. The question is, what will you be doing on the other side of this pandemic? Some individuals are doing a lot of things around the house. Some individuals are getting to know their family a little bit better. Some individuals are taking classes. And now when you also look at it is, I'm looking at some of those individuals that have lost their jobs, some of those that have been furloughed, and what are they going to do? Many times we have to reinvent ourselves and see what is it that we're actually needing, because when we look inside of ourselves, each and every one of us has something nobody else has to offer the public. When you look at it, it was many years back. Remember when they broke up Ma Bell, everybody was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And if you remember at that time, the President Bush, he said that there have been more small businesses opened up during this particular time period than anywhere else. Well, that was a true statement. I am a qualitative researcher, and I like to ask why. Well, that's why is I didn't have another job, so I had to open up a business of my own to do this. When you start looking at things now, a lot of times many changes happen because of necessity. And because we've had to go and work telecommute, a lot of businesses now are looking at saying, wow, I could work from home. I've even had some individuals say, I've been telling my boss I could work from home. Now they see we could work from home. They've been saying we can't do this, but now that we've been forced to, we can. And I saw one commercial that was out there, one of those memes somebody put out there and say, now all universities are trying to be like Phoenix. Before everybody was talking about Phoenix, but they say now everybody's trying to be like Phoenix. So is that something that is coming out, and what are the repercussions of those, and what kind of conversations are we having? Because we look at it, Cedrick, just like you have so many things going, like your Black Entrepreneurs Network, what are we doing to position ourselves for this next coming out? Are we positioning ourselves to have an online school? Are we going to have online charter schools? Will Cedrick now be the director of the worldwide school district that's all being fed by his leadership stuff, and you have a virtual whole school all over the world. I mean, what are we doing? Because the things that we didn't think about before, now we can think about them. So what are we doing to position ourselves to be better than we were before COVID and to deal with some of these issues?
Wow. Well, that's definitely powerful stuff right there, and that's the stuff that I want to bring to our audience and help our audience understand how to have abundance mindset, how to dream big, and how to know that and how to understand that what, things can get tough, things can be challenging, but it doesn't have to break you. It's all about how you think about it and how you get through it. So thanks very much for that. From let's talk a little bit about leadership development within your organization. So tell us why you believe that leadership development was important for your organization, and what things you guys look to bring into your institution from a leadership development standpoint.
Okay, let's be clear. As I'm speaking to you all tonight, I am a major at Fort Lauderdale Police Department. That's what I do, but not who I am. So some of the things that we discuss will not be exactly what's happening within the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, but within other organizations that I work in and what's been happening, because I believe that every organization can increase the amount of leadership training that they have. Because if you look at it, how do we have most problems or conflicts within our organizations? Most of those problems and conflicts will happen because of a lack of leadership. And Cedrick, one of the things I've noticed, individuals want to raise their hand and say that they're leaders, and nobody really wants to be diagnosed or labeled as a manager. But I will submit to you, a true leader must manage the resources. If you aren't managing the resources, people are not going to want to follow you. So you have to understand you must manage the resources and lead the people. And if you also notice, in most leadership conversations, individuals talk about leadership as if it is always a positive direction. I don't know about you, Cedrick, but sometimes you can go in an organization and you can find someone and they refer to them sometimes as a cancer because they're in the organization, but they're pulling the organization down. And when they go into the room, they're able to get other individuals to follow them and pull the organization down. By definition, as John C. Maxwell states, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So we must understand leadership goes in a positive direction and a negative direction. So as a true leader, you must understand that direction, and you must try to make sure all of your leaders and the people on your team are moving forward.
Yes. Wow. So I love what you said. Leadership can go in a positive upward direction, or it can go downward in a downward spiral, right? And John C. Maxwell also says, if you are out front and you're saying that you're leading, but no one is following, he says, you're just taking a walk. You're just out there on a hike by yourself.
Definitely.
So definitely. I love that. Nicole says, leadership is influence. I absolutely love it, Nicole. So let me throw out a wild card question for you. Tell us something fun and interesting. I know that sometimes you must take the bow tie off and relax. So tell us, what do you like to do for something fun or interesting about yourself?
That's funny that you say that, because most of the people that know me, I'm always working, always trying to do things. Something is kind of interesting, because when you're in leadership groups and in our age group, it's kind of one of the things that I do, kind of like an icebreaker. When I was teaching, I would ask them, I'd say, one of the things we do is, I'm sure you've done the exercise where you bring someone up and they're introducing each other, but they interview each other. And then they go over there and they introduce themselves to the group and they say, tell us 3 things about you. 2 things must be false and 1 thing must be true. 2 things must be true and 1 thing must be false. And let's guess the false one. Oftentimes I put things out there that people never guess, because in our minds, we stereotype individuals and we have those blind spots as leaders, and it helps them get out of it. And sometimes I ask them, how many tattoos do I have? 0, 3, or 5? And most people that have known me will say 0, because it is a stereotype of the tattoos in that persona. But then when I say, no, there are 3, then they're like, wow, I never really knew that. And so then you get to have a discussion about what do tattoos mean generationally, what type do you have, and these type things. And it begins to break that ice and lets people know that, hey, don't just judge me by what you see. It's kind of like you maybe have heard me say, don't let the bow tie fool you. You know, I've been out here on the street as a cop, and they see you in the bow tie, and they think one thing, like, don't let the bow tie fool you. You know, so.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you have three there. Wow. So, my next question is more on the line of people development, and actually, it's not necessarily just in business. It can be in family, in your families, or in relationships, right? So, what advice would you give people to consider changing and or improving to help them grow, or help their business grow, or help their family grow after this crisis?
One thing I would tell everyone, you can't give what you don't have. So you have to increase your capacity. Kind of like I say with your car, if you've ever go out there to your car and you're out of gas, as nice as the car is, it's not going to go anywhere. So just as us with our bodies, if we look at this as a means to take people from one place to another, just like a vehicle, if you don't have fuel, and that's that intellectual capacity that you get by going to trainings and the experiences that you have, if you do not increase your capacity, you will not have anything to give anyone else. So first, you must take care of you. Kind of like if you've ever been on an airplane and they give you that talk, they say the very first thing you do is put the mask on yourself before you put it on anybody else. So when you're going out there dealing with leadership training, don't start telling everybody else what they should do. You be the first one to start developing yourself. And many times you'll be surprised who will see you. When people will see you, they will not tell you, but they will start doing things. It's very much like social media. How many times have you heard people talk to you, or they see you somewhere like, oh, I saw you on Facebook, or I saw you on LinkedIn. And you're like, wow, I never knew. And you say, well, you never liked anything or did anything. Like, yeah, no, I've just been watching. It's the same way for leaders. When you're adding to yourself, you do that. So when you're going through this COVID, people are watching how you're doing things. Are you adding to yourself? When you come out, are you talking to your family members about leadership? It's just like tonight. I spoke to people. I was like, hey, I need to have those meetings with family members. You need to have those meetings with your close teams so that therefore you can say, I'm starting kind of like an earthquake. You're starting right here, and the ripple effect goes out with your leadership experiences and getting people to thinking positively. Because many things, as you know, is all of a state of mind.
Right.
You know, and I was teaching, they told me it was mind over matter. You know, if I don't mind, you don't matter. But the thing that you have to deal with is get your mind to going in a positive direction. And even Cedrick over there in the medical field, you know, many doctors tell you that people are living because they had the will to live. The doctors can't explain it. They say, but this person really fought. So when you're looking to see what's going to happen next, are we really fighting? Are we really thinking? Are we thinking outside of the box? How many things do we have in us that we wanted to do and we just haven't done? Let's do it now. We have absolutely nothing to lose.
Absolutely. You even throwing out the Nike quote or logo. I mean, not their motto is "Just do it." I love it. Right? People do what people see is absolutely right, brother. You said you can't give what you don't have. Now, some people may not understand what you mean when you say that, but I love the way you broke that down. You even threw in a little airline reference in there. So I love it. Now, I fly a lot. So next time I get on a plane, that's what I'm going to think about. But here's what I want to highlight what you said. Take people from one place to another is what leaders do, right? You must take care of yourself first, though, so that you have enough fuel within you to take care of them. I love that. And Nicole also commented online, that's good. People do what people see. I see J. Lamont Harris jumped on and he said, hey, Doc, preach, brother, preach. Tell the truth. I love it. Several other people, Judy Staves has also commented, yes, you're saying the right stuff. So I appreciate you helping our audience out tonight. So if you could make one change, just one change in the world, what would that be and why?
The one change I would do is I would coin the phrase kind of like Dubois. He had it as a duality, and I deal a lot with power and privilege. So if you look at a lot of times in our minority communities, we have that duality where we know how we see ourselves, but we also are aware of how others see us, and we take both of those into consideration before we make moves. But individuals that are in power and these type things, they don't have that duality. It's very singular, or it's like, okay, this is the way that we're going to do things. And I wish that if I had one wish, my wish would be that everyone could at least begin to understand another person's point of view, other than assuming you understand what it is that they're going through or how they made their decisions. Because I think if you really did the cliche of walking a mile in a man's shoes, you might understand why individuals do it. And one of the things that we're dealing with right now during COVID, I'm sure, as you and I were talking earlier, everybody is not quarantining the same. You know, and I gave the example when you saw Stedman quarantining with Oprah. I'm sure many of us are not quarantining in the guest house as he was doing. And there are also some individuals that I'm working with in the schools. And there's some families that really are not living like Oprah. They aren't living like you and I, Cedrick, and not living like a whole bunch of other individuals. But do people take that into consideration? You know, some school districts, they've given out the laptops. Well, did you consider that the family might not have internet service? Well, school district down here and some of the internet services, they gave the internet service, but did they consider that one of the parents may have used the kid's name before and it could have screwed up that account? So there are a lot of different things that are happening and really showing what this divide is. And if I may throw this in there also, Cedrick, when we're looking at this, are we taking the census seriously? Because these census numbers will be some of the things that come into play that will be allocating our resources to our communities. And if you have certain communities that do not do the census for whatever reason, and other communities that do it to the hilt, that is going to create a divide in resources. And remember, this is for 10 years. So if you undercount now and your community is growing, you are really exponentially negatively impacting your community. These are the things as leaders, we need to be going out there and talking to our community about the census. We also need to be talking to our community about the voting, because now think about it. How many of us that are on this call right now are making sure our community has the absentee ballots? Because we don't know what's going to be happening with the elections. But if you have an absentee ballot and you decide you still wish to go and walk in and cast your vote, just walk in with your absentee ballot. But if something happens to where you can't, you at least have your absentee ballot. These are the things that are making decisions. And if you aren't a registered voter, you can't even serve on the doggone juries. So then you're talking about a jury of your peers. If all of your peers are trying to get out of jury duty and are not registering to vote, how will you have a jury of your peers? So during this COVID, and said you asked, what should leaders do? Leaders should be making sure they're getting better contact with their local government. They should be making sure their censuses are being filled out. They should be making sure everybody is a registered voter and making sure they're getting their absentee ballots and are becoming educated voters. Those are just some of the things we can do, because all of these things can be done online, virtually, and everything. You don't have to be within 6 feet of each other to make these things happen.
Wow. Wow. Let me see. You always impress me. You are, I didn't even think about talking about voting and government, and you just, boom, educated the audience. This is awesome. So, I like to do civic involvement things in some youth conferences that we have. So this is awesome that we're going to help the audience understand the power and the value in, one, the filling out the census, two, voting and absentee voting in particular. Kamika Creedle came on and said, "Are we talking about the census? Seriously? That's awesome." She's excited about that. So thank you very much. Ray Lee is in Florida as well, and he said, "Great information." So Kamika said, "Dropping gold, Dr. Gregory A. Salters." I told you guys I was going to bring you some heavy hitters, some people that that are powerful, that can speak to and through a lot of different things. So I always want to bring value with talking leadership with Cedrick. So, Doc, when we hear the word persistence, we know that it means continual, to continue even in the midst of failure, even in the midst of crisis. So for you, how has persistence helped you, not necessarily just through this crisis, but just in life and your career in general?
One of the things you look at from persistence, it's kind of like if you look at it with a sports analogy. When you get to the championship games, notice they do them in a series. They don't just do it by one game, because at that level of play, anybody could win at one level. Anybody can get it in one game. But when you get the best 5 out of 7, you are the champion. So, and it's just like when you're looking for leadership coaches and you're looking for people that you want to bring into your circle. Some people can be a one-hit wonder, which is great. But
Mhm.
who are you bringing in your circle that is consistent? And also, I was speaking with one of my clients today, and they were talking about some moves that they want to make. And I was coaching them through it, saying, what do they want to do? I said, well, what is it that you want to be known for? And he said, well, I really hadn't thought about it. I said, well, you ask about 5 or 6 people that know you, and they'll be able to tell you what you're known for, whether or not you knew it or not. So when you're looking at it, you get known for something for being persistent. And whether you recognize it or not, somebody knows what it is that you have been consistent with, and they will tell you that. So one of the things you look at with persistence also is they say a diamond is a girl's best friend. But what is a diamond? A diamond is a piece of coal that has been put under heat and pressure persistently over a long period of time. Because without that time, you just have coal. And the same thing with a cake. I know many people, maybe they baked the cake or have at least had a slice of it. But I like using the analogy of having that cake. And when you put it in
Some
the
of
oven,
us have had multiple slices of cake.
well, that was my way to, when you're a leader, you really don't want to be that transparent. And I take the red velvet, man, when it leaves the little imprint on the napkin when you pick it up because it's so moist. But when you actually look at it, many times when you're dealing with leadership, and I've dealt with this personally when I have been mentored and things got very difficult, and you can stay through that difficult time and it gets you to where you need to be. But also some individual is talking about being put into some situations and they backed out too soon. And I like to look at it kind of like that cake. When you put a cake in the oven and it starts to rise and it's hot in that oven, if you take that cake out of the oven too soon, you end up with a hot mess. And many times it could be you being mentored that you get out of the oven too quickly and you end up as a hot mess, or someone that you were mentoring and you were putting the pressure on them and they got out of the oven and it was a hot mess. So you have to look at it and say, when I'm under this gun and I'm under pressure, that is preparing me to move from the state of a coal to diamond, or to move from a state of a raw cake to an outstanding cake. So those are some things you got to look at with that pressure when it comes in there, and being persistent and staying in there. And those that have little kids, my little favorite story was that little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And as they went over the mountain, I know I can. I know I can. I know I can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at that. We go from voting to census to coal to diamonds, cake from a raw cake to outstanding cake. Brother, I tell you what, man, it's just awesome having you on the show tonight. And I'm excited for our audience that they get to hear and see you. I know down in Florida, folks get to hear you a lot. Tell us a little bit about the salt mine, and what are you doing, and also how people can get in contact with you if they want to grow under your leadership.
I appreciate the platform. One of the things I did over the years, how many times many of you all have been speaking. Many of you all probably have not even been doing it professionally. You may be going out to career days. Your company may call you and ask you to speak at these different things. With everything going on now, each one of y'all has something that can add value to somebody else. So it's just what level you want to take it to. Personally, I've been teaching and speaking. People are like, wow, you've been speaking, and how long have you been speaking? How many of you all can remember the very first time you gave a speech? Mine was 5 years old, North Wind, in the kindergarten play. So from that time to now being 54 years old, I've done it a lot. So now you have to go out there and give it. So what I did is with the salt mine, I said, let me go ahead and step up and go to the next level, because this is just like playing little league football, college ball, and NFL. It's next level, next level. Rules are the same, but you have to do it a little bit differently. So that's when I incorporated the business formally in 2017 on my daughter's birthday, so that you bring those significant milestones in there. And with the salt mine, what we do is I say, you come on in and get seasoned for success, because everyone has something to offer. And what we try to do is just give you a little bit of seasoning that makes you different from that next one. I don't know about how many of you all are out there where if you've ever had some food, it was great food, but it just needed a little bit of something else. That's what I like to do. So I deal with the organizations coming in doing leadership training. I deal with individuals. Some individuals have wanted to work with me on the basis of just supervisory leadership. We deal with law enforcement. I deal with education. I work as a career coach with some individuals where they don't know what it is they want to do. I've worked with individuals on their educational journeys, because I've gone all the way up to and included the doctorate. I've worked with individuals deciding what their majors are. I've worked with them putting together their various classes and tutoring. I've worked with them on how to narrow down their subjects when they're working on their doctorate, because once again, if I can help somebody as I pass along the way, my living will not be in vain. If any of us are going through struggles and we don't help someone else out that's going through a similar struggle, that was a wasted struggle. If I go through it, you shouldn't have to go through it if you're connected with me. So I look forward to connecting with you guys. If you all wish to talk, you can find me. I'm out there on social media, Dr. Gregory A. Salters. My LinkedIn is out there. My website is www.gregoryasalters, that's with that S.com. I'll push it over there so we can see it. I love to connect with you guys, love to talk with you. If you have a group of individuals that wish to talk, and Cedrick, I know you do a lot of training also. We're talking about possibly doing some trainings together with having this. If those that are watching this are enjoying the conversation that we're having, let Cedrick and I know. We'll be glad to put together training for you, your organization. And we also do the personality assessments through DISC. So we're out here really just trying to add value, help individuals go to the next level. And during this COVID time or doing whatever's going on, talk to us. We can put on some free training so people can see the benefits of leadership training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I tell you, we're coming close to, we still have a few more minutes, so we're not in a rush, but I want to make sure that we stay on track. And, but let me just, recap some of the things that brother just said. He said, everybody needs a little, and he didn't even say what it was, but a little salt. And here's what he said earlier on: salt, success and leadership training. All he's going to do is put a little seasoning in you, on your team, to give you that extra flavor that's needed. Now, that if that doesn't encourage you, if that doesn't inspire you, if that doesn't motivate you, then I don't know what else will. So, Doc, I know that we'll be, finishing up this COVID-19 pandemic, hopefully soon. But in the meantime, I want you to leave everyone with some motivational, inspirational message or something of encouragement that this too will pass. And I want them to really end our conversation tonight on a high note from you, so they can take for the rest of their week.
Okay. As you're going out this week, I want you to think about it. As we've been talking about today, leadership and going through the next level and everything that's going on. Whenever you look at things, and we're talking about, you may have heard people say it is lonely at the top. The only reason it's lonely at the top is because you didn't take somebody with you. So when you're going through this COVID and you see some other individuals that might not be taking leadership training, they might not be having a positive outlook, they might be looking at all of the negatives, show them the positives of what they're doing. Also, if you've ever looked at it, if you've ever talked to people and they've gotten a broken arm, if you look at it, when the arm is broken, when it is healed, it is stronger than it was before. So when you're looking at it, sometimes with this COVID, it's broken some spirits. It has definitely shaken up some things. It's made some people look at what they have to deal with. So what we have to do is connect with those that are in our community. You should use this every day. Reach out to somebody that means something to you. Give them a call, because you could be a call they were waiting on. You could be the only call that they had. Reach out, talk to them, and remember, it's lonely at the top if you do not take someone with you. Working with us, we're going to season you for success. You're going to come on in here and get the nuggets from Cedrick. He has his other things you can look at, is the Black Enterprise thing. When you're starting your business, you got the Millionaire Boys Club that he has over there for the young men that are trying to get financially secure, has some financially secure things. Get with us and let's go to the next level, because it's lonely at the top if we don't take anybody with us.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. The only reason why it's lonely at the top is because you left everybody else downhill. So that, wow, that I'm gonna be using that one later this week with a group. In fact, it's tomorrow. So I'll be using that one. I absolutely love that. And I absolutely, again, want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule away from your family to come and spend some time here with us tonight on Talk Leadership with Cedrick. I know that you could be doing a lot of other things, but you took the time to come and spend with us tonight. Hey, before we go, I want to make sure that we honor some people with a couple of gifts. And on your page, if you can see that, let me know if you can see people that are commenting on your page, because I would like to give someone from your audience an autograph book. And this one is it's autographed by John C. Maxwell himself. It's Winning with People, and it's really really in line with what we're talking about tonight.
Okay. All righty. I see in terms of activity now, Kamika, I know that she's over there. She's another one of those outstanding ladies doing a lot of stuff up there in the DC, Maryland area, a lot of training up there. So she's outstanding up there. I know she's adding value. Let me see who we had over here. Let me see. Let me do this. Let me see. Someone just put in, seems like Jay Lamont has really been over here doing some things. So if I could get something for Jay Lamont.
Yes, sir. So for Jay Lamont, we're going to give him this autographed copy of Winning with People, and I will make sure that we I reach out to him and get his address information, and we'll get that sent off to him.
Okay.
Right. So then this next thing, there's a person, Reba King Feliciano, who was on here. And I am going to give her this leather-bound journal from, it's a really nice, soft leather-bound journal. So Reba King Feliciano, if I can get you to send me a message with your information, and I will get this mailed off to you. All right. Now, every week we're going to have different prizes. We are working with some sponsors that's going to also provide us with some things. So we will, every week we'll have some prize that we'll be giving out. And I want to, again, thank Dr. Gregory Salters for coming on with us tonight. And if you've enjoyed this session tonight, please give us a shout out and say, yes, you've enjoyed it. And yes, you want more. That's all you have to say is yes, you enjoyed it. Yes, you want more. I look forward to every week, Monday night, 6:30 Central Time, talking with you about leadership. Thank you again, Dr. Salters, for joining us tonight. You know, I'm going to leave us with this leadership principle. The law of significance says, one, is too small a number to achieve greatness. See, together we achieve more. And I'm glad that I had the pleasure to meet you several years ago. And I'm glad I had the pleasure to have you come on here for our first session of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. So thank you very much. Thanks everyone on Facebook for coming on and listen to us. Put this on your calendar because we're going to be here every Monday night. I'm going to bring you some more dynamic leaders. And I look forward to raising the bar for leadership with Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Thank you and have a great evening.